Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Broker Buzz here with NewRez. My name is Brad Pettiford. I'm the Director of Wholesale Marketing here, and I'm thankful to be joined by Michelle Crumley, the Director of VA Education here at NewRez. Michelle, thanks for joining us.
Oh my gosh, so excited to be here. We're going to have some fun.
I'm excited. So I just want to dive into it, and let's start with your story. And how did your personal experience as a military spouse lead you into the world of VA lending and eventually to your role here at NewRez?
Oh my gosh. So I was sitting at our second closing. So one, I am a 30-year, I don't say how many years anymore, military spouse. I just now veteran spouse. I just sound really old. And it started way back. We were buying our second home and we were sitting at the closing table. My husband's retired military, wasn't at the time. And we were trying to figure out why we were using the VA loan, why this was the best loan program, what were the benefits. And I felt like I was a pretty smart individual, and I still was completely lost in this home buying process. So what do I do? On a small remote island in the Gulf of Alaska, when we were stationed in Kodiak Island, I became a loan originator because I figured the best way to understand was to do. So I started as a loan originator, and my career from there has all been about our military and our service members, veterans, and their families, and about how education really help them understand much more about what they're doing. So I learned like so much, and through the years have been everything from an originator, branch manager, to coach for our loan officers, then into the more the realm of a national trainer, and today at NewRez, the Director of VA Education and Policy. So I get to talk about the VA loan and the benefits to our service members, our veterans, and their families all day, every day.
It's awesome. You talk about, being able to talk to them all day, every day, and I can sense that passion that you have for it, that energy. So throughout your career, obviously, you said you've been around the block for a while and you've helped thousands of military families navigate homeownership. Is there a specific moment or success story that really sticks with you? Maybe a family or situation that really captures why this work matters so much to you?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. I'm just going to take probably the most recent because it is, right there, which is you get older is important. I was speaking at a military influencer conference not terribly long ago, and I had about VA loans, and I had a adorable military spouse come up afterwards and say, you were talking about the fact that you could buy multi-unit. You could buy a 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 unit property and live in one and rent out the others. And I was like, absolutely. And she says, we are working with a lender that I asked to do that. And they told me it was not possible, that you could not do a VA loan on a multi-unit living in one and renting out the others. That was an investment property. And I said, well, let's call your loan officer. Let's just call up your loan officer and let's have a conversation. And they weren't using NewRez. I will say that. So we had a conversation with the loan officer, and they had absolutely no idea, did not feel comfortable in the VA loan process, and allowed the military spouse to move that loan over. And I was able to put them with an individual that was that expert. And what I say is, it doesn't matter who a service member or a veteran is using, as long as they are using an expert. Happy to say here at NewRez that we specialize in VA loans, but really it's about that service member, that veteran, that family member, finding someone that understands the military and veteran lifestyle, the veteran and military lifestyle, the culture, just in all, right? What it's like and the obstacles that are there to home ownership, and then being that sounding board for them. So happy they closed not terribly long ago in their 2-unit, using the other side as an investment property. And they are just as happy as they can be. And I say, yay, another one done.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a good point because it's so easy for consumers to kind of lean on, and the loan officers is having the utmost understanding and knowledge of what they're doing. And sometimes they might not be aware. Those loan officers might not be fully aware of what can be done, what can't be done. And you kind of stack that on top of just the misconceptions that are already out there from at the consumer level. VA loans come with a lot of misconceptions. And like from your experience, what's the biggest myth you wish you could bust once for all?
Oh my gosh. There's a bunch, but the biggest one is still the belief that, and loan officers still believe this, so many of them, that you can only have one VA loan at a time. And that is rooted in history. There was a time that was correct, but that was a decade, 2 decades ago. It has been ages that our service members can absolutely have more than one loan at a time. But you have to understand entitlement, bonus entitlement, how it works, all of these little intricacies. And I will tell you that our service members and veterans do not know it. Our real estate agents don't understand it and don't know it. And a lot of the loan officers, if they are not in areas where they do a lot of VA loans, they don't understand and know that either. So that is the biggest myth that still is out there and hounds our service members and veterans, is the belief that they can only have one VA loan at a time.
Interesting. That's interesting. Like, I feel like that's something that you're well versed in because of like the experience you have, the expertise you have, the different certifications you have. Like you've earned, various certifications in the industry. How do these help you better serve our military customers and train others in the industry?
So when we talk about third-party certifications, right, being able to always hone your craft. And for me, it was a decision, right? I can do VA loans, which I've done, and I can learn from there. I can read the handbook, I can read the circular, but for me, it's also hands-on. And the way that I learn, I like to hear others. I like to go and sit and learn. And for me, whether it was NAM's CVLS class or VA Reps home veteran certification class, it is seeing how others teach, hearing, seeing, and learning, and then always taking a nugget away, because yes, there is stuff in the handbook that it has not been updated since 2002, 2009, and they don't update it routinely. There's information that's in regulations and in the VA circulars that if you are not up to the minute, ingrained in all of that, you miss so much. So be able to see how others teach and train, be able to learn these nuances that I didn't realize before, only makes me better in my role in either individually or as a company, being much, much better prepared in answering these questions for our team.
That's great. And like looking at, the customer at the consumer level, thinking about, service members and their VA loan benefits. What are some of the most common reasons that eligible service members don't use their VA loan benefits, and how is NewRez working to change that?
So one of the biggest is that there is a misconception by a lot of our real estate agents that the VA appraisal process is horrible. And it still resonates today with a lot of our real estate agents. So they will say, hey, maybe don't go VA on this, or let's not look at this VA offer as strongly as we look at other offers. So in approaching that, and most of that has to do with your service members don't understand how the appraisal process works. That's not their area of expertise. And when we talk about our real estate agents, they really don't understand today how the entire appraisal process works, and works in their favor if they understand that. They're still stuck. Again, most issues with the VA loan are rooted in something that was true at one time, but it has come so far, just like every other loan program that is out there. So understanding the minimum property requirements, understanding what Tidewater is and how that is a benefit, not a challenge in the appraisal process, but that it's a really good thing. How to use the reconsideration of value process. So many of our loan officers don't necessarily understand, but so many of our real estate agents don't understand that if the appraised value comes in low, that the service member can ask VA directly to review that appraisal to see if there's more value. It doesn't go back to the appraiser. It goes to the VA that is of jurisdiction for that area to review it. The fact that they can ask that MPRs be waived directly to the VA. So there's a lot that, because our industry doesn't have that depth of knowledge, that it can be a challenge to get our service members and our veterans purchase agreements reviewed on the same level as a lot of the other loan programs because of misconceptions from our real estate agents.
That makes sense. And like thinking about, what we do here at NewRez, we have a military family advisory council to kind of help, provide even more support and education. Can you share how that group is making a difference in shaping products and services for military borrowers?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Is one of the things that I think that absolutely differentiates NewRez from so many of our competitors. We actually decided we were going to create a council. And this wasn't going to be your brass, right? It wasn't going to just be the headshed of the military that we were going to put on the council. We wanted it to be the boots on the grounds individuals that were living it every day. Because as a company, we feel that if we are going to ask our service members and our veterans for their business, and they're going to honor us and let us help them, then we need to be standing beside them through the challenges of home ownership. So we created this council. Originally, it was just military spouses. Now we've got military spouses, veteran spouses, we've got service members, and we cover a wide range of the things that today are impacting our military. Things from food insecurity, things to how do we work with our Gold Star families? What are the issues that they have? And how do we help families prepare in the event that there is one of the breadwinners or one of the parents unfortunately pass? How, as a family, are they prepared to handle that? To mental health, that's huge, right? For our service members and our veterans, and how the home really is a place of healing and stability for those individuals that have some of those more challenging mental health issues, PTSD or TBIs, even that medical side. And then also getting involved in entrepreneurship as well as employment. The military spouses are completely the largest demographic that is either underemployed or unemployed because of so many moves that they make. So really trying to find ways through entrepreneurship as well as just hiring our heroes, working with those different organizations on how do we prepare our military and or the business community in how hireable these individuals are and how to work with our military and veteran service members as they are moving into a civilian world.
So ever since I started here, I've heard rave reviews about our challenge coins that we have here. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenge coin initiative and why it's so close to your heart? And what is it like for you when you get to present that coin to someone?
Absolutely. So the military challenge coin is rooted in a whole lot of history. It goes back, I want to say, to World War I. And there's a whole myth about it. And we won't spend the time today on what that myth, the legend of the challenge coin is. But what that challenge coin has come to represent, either when it is a service member to service member, it is a symbol of honor, of achievement, of belonging. So you'll have service members in different countries, in different units, in foreign units, that a way to say thank you or that we enjoyed working together, to say that we were here, they exchange these challenge coins because in most cases, each unit, each command, each unit creates their own personalized unit coin. And they will share that with each other. Again, as for different reasons. It tells a story. It provides a lifelong connection. Now, when you move into the civilian world that wants to recognize service members and veterans, it really is a way for us to say, we get you. We understand your unique challenges. We understand your unique culture, and we want to say thank you. So when we have that opportunity, we decided to create an entire program about saying thank you to our service members and veterans, so that when we have a loan officer broker that is working with a service member or veteran, they have the ability to request that a challenge coin be mailed either to them directly to coin the service member or veteran in person, or if they're not going to be at the closing, to be able to send it directly to the service member or veteran after closing. And we do this for a couple of reasons. One, it is a validation of the sacrifices they have made. So being able to say, thank you. Thank you for the service and sacrifice you made to the country. Thank you for putting your trust in us with probably the biggest or one of the biggest purchases you're ever going to have in your life. You could choose anybody else, but you chose us. Thank you. And it, again, is a keepsake of that honoring what they've done and where they've been. So when I get the chance, I'm not at many closings anymore, but to be able, when I am out speaking, the very first thing that I do is ask who in the room is a veteran or is currently serving. And I take that moment to recognize them, their service, their branch of service, and to be able to coin them directly. And it is always fun to see them light up like, oh my gosh, I did not expect that. And for me, it is just a way to continue that honor and tradition that they are used to and being able to be in their world.
That's awesome. And you talk about these experiences you have, getting to speak with different people, and you've spoken at events and boot camps across the country. Is there a certain question that you always get from military families? Does something stand out? And do you see generational differences in how families think about home ownership?
So that is a loaded question. And the answer to both of those components is yes. So let's start with the generational. So we have service members when we think back to, we at this point, we are close to not having any World War II service members left, unfortunately. But we still have quite a number of our Vietnam vets. And they learned early on not to talk about their service unless they are directly asked in a safe environment. They don't like to talk about their service. They're not going to say, I've served or I am serving, like so many of our younger service members will do, or our veterans will talk a little bit more about that. They appreciate a lot of the benefits that the civilian world will provide. And so they will talk more freely about it than our Vietnam vets will, as an example. Our Vietnam vets, so many of them don't understand the benefit that they had. It wasn't something, again, that there was a lot of training about, or that there was a lot of discussions and taps about. And it wasn't, again, something that you would see as a standard. So you will have a lot of veterans, older veterans, that say, I didn't know I had the VA loan. If they didn't use it, most of the time it's because they didn't really understand that they had the benefit or how it worked. And it wasn't then presented as options in a way that made them feel comfortable using it. Our younger service members, there are now Facebook groups all about how to buy a home using your VA loan. It is about not just buying a house today forever, but how do they use their VA home loan benefit while they're in to start really building wealth, to use that VA benefit in their first command, buy a home there, use that as their primary residence. And then when they get stationed at the next location, keep that home as an investment, use some of their bonus entitlement that they have, buy that second VA, that second primary residence. All right, now they've moved, buy that home, use the VA loan again. So they are looking more at how do they use it as a tool versus I'm buying my forever home, or I am just learning about the VA loan and waiting until much later in their life to use it. So it is fun to watch the differences that are there. And then when I am talking with the group, again, it is interesting. If I'm talking to active duty, their wants and needs are very different than if I am talking to individuals that are looking for their forever home. Two very different demographics, our veterans and our active duty. So being able to tailor those questions, making sure that they understand how entitlement works. And I think that is probably the biggest thing. They understand that they have this benefit. And this is on either side. They understand that they have this benefit that provides, in many cases, no down payment, no mortgage insurance. So they're getting into homes with less requirement to liquidate assets. Not that they don't have assets, but that they don't have, they have earned the honor of not having to liquidate them to get into those homes. And understanding that you can use the VA home loan, and it's all based on entitlement, to really build a ultimate portfolio of homes with that owner occupied mentality, but you then don't buy over and above what you can afford. You don't buy your forever home at your first duty station. You understand how entitlement works. You understand how bonus entitlement works. And as a service member, you make a decision to buy maybe a townhome or maybe a 2-unit where you're going to live in one and rent out the other while you are stationed there. And then as you move, you didn't use all of your entitlement on that forever home, and you've got extra or bonus entitlement to use at the next duty station. And you do the same thing. You buy based on what you think you are going to want to use that property for in the future. Be cognizant of what you want to do with that as much as you can up front, and then making decisions understanding how the VA loan works to their benefit long term. That was a very long answer for a very short question.
No, it's all good. And it's like there's so many benefits for, VA borrowers. And like another thing is that VA loans are assumable, which is a huge perk. Is this an opportunity that you think is largely underutilized? And if so, how can brokers and agents better communicate that value to buyers and sellers?
So with VA assumptions, right? So the lovely thing is that one of the benefits of the VA loan is it's a government insured, government backed loan, and therefore it is assumable, unlike the Freddie and Fannie civilian or loan programs. With that assumption, it is a phenomenal benefit, but you have to understand it. And I think this is where it becomes convoluted and people get frustrated. We haven't talked assumptions in decades. It is just in the last 3 years, as interest rates rose, that assumptions became a more commonplace word. You have lenders that were dusting off old file folders about what an assumption was and how it works, right? So it is a phenomenal benefit, but you have to understand it, both its limitations and what it allows for. And I think that used correctly, it can't be beat, but it's not for every single buyer. And it's not for every single seller. And so it's understanding that if you have a service member or a veteran or a non-vet that is looking at assuming a home, because you do not have to be a veteran to assume a VA loan. There are ramifications to not being a veteran to the seller that the seller needs to understand. But so I tell individuals, absolutely, an assumption is always something to consider in this environment where interest rates are much higher. But it needs to be someone that understands that you are only assuming the amount that the seller currently owes, and that you have to be able to bring the difference to what the seller is selling it for and what the seller owes. So does somebody have the cash? Does somebody have secondary financing that they know that will do, in essence, a purchase money second behind a already VA first? Do they have the ability to bring that difference to the closing table? And there are some individuals that absolutely do. And they're, instead of a 6% interest rate, they're looking at a 3% interest rate. That's huge. So much more buying power. But if they don't have the ability to bring that additional money, that equity in essence, to the closing table, then they have to be able, then considering a regular VA loan versus an assumption, we would have those conversations. And then it also goes back to understanding entitlement, and for a seller, what the ramifications are in selling to someone that does not have VA eligibility and the enough entitlement to substitute their entitlement for theirs as the seller. So that can have a little bit of a difference there. Phenomenal loan program, but as real estate agents and as brokers, loan officers, it is understanding the basics, because again, as a broker or as a loan officer, we're not the ones doing the loan. It's the servicer that's doing the loan of that particular VA transaction, that VA loan. But we can educate the clients and our partners, our real estate partners, so that those transactions, when they are the right fit, go much more smoothly than if we weren't involved.
I've learned so much from you, and so there's so many details, like you said earlier, there's so many details and nuances that kind of go into this, and just kind of thinking about the future and looking ahead. What is your vision for how NewRez can continue to support military families, not just through lending but through broader community impact? What does success look like to you, 5 years from now?
Oh, well, we've solved all the world's problems in 5 years. I wish. Okay, so besides that, I think that for NewRez, it is us continuing to march forward in ensuring that our loan officers, our brokers, our processors, our underwriters, our closers, that everybody that is in cahoots on a loan, and for our servicing side, that are servicing our VA loans, that are servicing our veterans transactions, that we continue to maintain that expertise. So whether that is, again, internal training, certifications, town halls that we do, those different things to keep our skills cutting edge, I think is first and foremost. How do we make sure that we have the best educated team internally and externally to serve this demographic? And then from an external, from that standpoint of being involved in the community. So getting our loan officers and our brokers engaged in the communities where they live. So not only are they the go-to person when it comes to talking finance, but they're that go-to person that can help make connections to different resources or different businesses that are in the area that will better serve our service members and veterans. So I think that it's twofold, right? Continuing our education, being the best that we absolutely can be, setting that bar as high as we possibly can, and then getting our team and our business, right? So we wouldn't ask our team members to do this if we as an organization wasn't willing to do that, but getting boots on the grounds in the communities that we serve. In this case, we're talking about our military and veteran communities and being involved. Our service members want to know that we care, want to know that we have the knowledge and ability to serve them, and then they want to see us doing it in their backyard.
No, that's great. That's all great stuff. I can sense the energy, the passion that you have for this business. Where does your passion come from?
Oh, well, my parents will tell you I was born with it and drove them absolutely crazy. But I truly believe that when you are doing things that you believe in and things that you care about, then that just automatically comes about, right? So someone says, you have to go today, Michelle, this is your work. You have to go today and talk to a whole bunch of Green Berets that are looking at retiring about VA loans. Darn. Yay. I love that, because what I love is to see those light bulbs go off, to make change, to change somebody's life, to change somebody's understanding. And for me, that is the biggest high. That is what drives me, right? I care about, do I have an impact in somebody's life today? Whether it is a loan officer that is like, oh my gosh, I didn't know we could do that. That is fantastic. Or to a service member that's getting out to say, there's some things you need to think about as you're moving into this retirement or this transition phase. Or whether it's a real estate agent that says, so tell me why you hate VA loans. Oh my gosh, let's just debunk every single one of those myths. And I see them start to change their thought process. Then I know that I have added value. I get to keep my job. Yay. But I also think that it is better received. I think that I bring that passion, it also helps them raise up to that excitement level and helps them maybe have some different feelings about the program, the process, the service member, or the veteran. It gets them excited about what they are doing as well.
For loan officers out there that maybe haven't been too involved in VA lending and or want to get more into it, how or is there a place that brokers can go to get more education on VA to really, you've talked about so many of the different, I mean, obviously the level of experience you have and our team has here at NewRez, when it comes to like truly gaining an understanding and education on like how you can be an effective loan officer supporting VA clients. Is there a place where brokers can go to get more education on that?
Absolutely. So one of the things I would tell them, first and foremost, reach out to your NewRez account representative. Reach out to your account exec. Absolutely. First place to start. They have a lot of the information, or can reach out to me specifically to find out what's going on. So their AEs are a huge resource in that. From the standpoint of education, here at NewRez, I do a monthly broker national webinar on VA loans every month. I pick one specific nuance of the VA loan, and we delve into that deep. It's 30 minutes of content. I come every month. This month, we're going to be talking about, I guess actually technically it'll be the first Wednesday of November. We're going to be talking about the National Guard and reservists income, how they get paid, when you can use it, when you can't use it, how do you calculate it? What are some of the things that you need to know so that loan doesn't go sideways when you're dealing with someone that maybe has been activated in the National Guard or reservists, in the reserves. And then we have a lot of organizations out there that have their own certifications that aren't tied to a company. For example, the Veterans Association of Real Estate Professionals. I sit on that organization's National Education Committee, and we actually have a military veteran lending certification. NewRez right now happens to be one of the main sponsors of that particular class, so I do have the ability to teach that through the end of the year at no cost for those that attend one of our NewRez sponsored events. But it is reaching out and finding those different organizations, and then they're making a determination of the product that they are offering, that certification that they are offering, is there value there? And again, reaching back out to NewRez, working with the AE through myself as well, we can help identify those options and opportunities that are there.
Great. When I think about the different benefits that are available to VA borrowers that you talked about in this conversation, it might just be my perception as a millennial, but I feel like it's easy to just, when you think of VA lending, to just jump to, those experienced veterans that have, fought in previous wars and things like that. And yet there's so many active duty members who are my age or way younger than me. Can you talk a bit about how that, even like the younger active duty members are taking advantage of the benefits that are available to them through VA?
One of the myths that is out there is because it is a VA loan, the Veterans Administration, that you have to be a veteran to use your VA benefits. That is false when it comes to the VA home loan benefit. So a lot of individuals don't realize that your service member becomes eligible when they are active duty. They become eligible for the VA home loan benefit after they have served 90 days. So you have service members that are coming out of, and for my service members that are out there, when you're coming out of your basic, you're going to your A schools or your MOS schools, right? And you're getting all of that education and training behind you, and you arrive at your first command. You have your VA home loan eligibility. And to think, okay, am I a one and done? Do I want to buy, sell, move on? Do I not even want to mess with it, right? So when you are arriving at your first duty station, is starting those conversations. Does it make sense to buy or rent? Is it make sense to buy something really small that could be a phenomenal rental down the line and just start that process that then I can either keep it as an investment or I can sell it, use the equity that I make out of it when I sell it to use for the next home and buy something bigger. There's so many different ways that service members can use that benefit and start using it really early in their careers that will set them up for such incredible long-term success that I think that it should be something that is taught in basic training about their VA home loan benefit and financing and finances and all of that stuff. I don't know that we'll ever get there, but once they do get to that first command is really taking a look at what they are wanting to accomplish short-term and long-term and have a conversation. It doesn't cost a penny to talk to an expert loan officer, not about even necessarily purchasing that day, but talk to me, teach me, tell me what I need to know about if I buy or when I buy, what does this look like and how does VA help me meet those long-term goals?
Michelle, thank you so much for your time today. This has been awesome to learn about from my perspective, and I'm assuming it's incredibly valuable for our audience as well. And again, I wanted to thank you for your time today. It's Michelle Crumley, Director of VA Education here at NewRez. Thank you again for being a part of Broker Buzz with us.
My pleasure, guys. Have a great day.
And thank you to our audience for tuning in for this latest episode of Broker Buzz. We look forward to the next one. Hope you tune in for that as well. We'll talk to you soon.